This video we gonna get into from my experience how gangs and the culture shifted from when I went in the system in 2001. It was all about where you was from, really. Like your city, your area in Virginia. Gangs was around, but they weren't really dominating the scenes. You know what I'm saying? It was just so little of them spread it out everywhere. But I will say around 2003, like I went to an institution that was full of GDs and Crips, which was King Mountain, and it was a lot of them. There was a lot of Latin Kings and essays. I already know how they rock, but it was a lot of white dudes and black dudes that was Crip and GD back in that time. And I want to say moving forward, '05, '06, out of nowhere, that flip. It went from like 8 bloods on the compound to in months. The numbers grew to probably about a good 70, 80. You know what I'm saying? And a rapid rate. Bloods was just coming through the system, from jails, from receiving, heavy from out of Norfolk. You know what I'm saying? They was flooding, they was coming from everywhere, but them Norfolk jails was packed with homies at the time. And like I say, this I'm not glorifying any of this. I'm just educating and giving my experience from me being in there for so long. Like this my take and perspective. But yeah, like and as the time went on, um and I started to insert myself more in the banging, I started to learn that a whole lot of the Crips and GDs I had ran into, a whole lot of the Bloods I ran into, they were not official. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that all of them, but a majority were not official. And that's due to communication gaps. Like, some dudes might have came to Virginia banging Blood or, banging Crip, GD, whatever, and ended up getting incarcerated, but they've been out of communication and contact for so long with their homies. You know what I'm saying? Like cell phones, all that one going on. King Mountain phone calls, $8, $9 came out and Red on Juana's Ridge area. So all that riding the phone all day won't happening, Jack. Like block stayed on the phone. Um Letters was the way of communication, you know what I'm saying? But it took us time to figure that one out. You know what I'm saying? So like it just it is what it was. Homies were not keeping in contact with homies that they had incarcerated in Virginia. So that's how the numbers grew so big. Um, but with Crip and GD off the rip, but nobody was in contact, you know what I'm saying, that I knew of. And and you know that because when you run into these dudes down the line, they ain't banging that no more, or they got a new big homie. You see what I'm saying? So it's or they just not banging no more, period. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can spot these things and figure it out. Like, oh dang, dude used to go super hard for that right there back in the day. Now he nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like, and a lot of it had to do with people wanting contact. You know what I'm saying? And when dudes started rolling through the system that were in contacts, and then when the cell phone thing got big, we had already figured out the whole letter game. You know what I'm saying? On how to get the correspondence to the right places. So for years, a lot of people they were not official. You know what I'm saying? In that early part of 2000, even if they were official, like I said, which is it was rare. But you had some dudes who really were from New York, really were from Cali, but they weren't in contact with their turf. So A lot of it got outdated, and they building numbers up, and the literature, whatever they passing out, is outdated, and they the only one that they in contact with for the whole set. No, it don't work like that. So that's how it started off. And myself, I was included in this situation. That's why I would ended up in multiple cars. But the numbers shifted, man. Like I said, it's always Crips GDs everywhere, but it really shifted, man, around that time, 05, 06, and just bloods was everywhere. Like it just became like a thing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of it had to do with, like, no disrespect to nobody, but this is how it go in the system. Like if you walked in there and you was like, I'm from Long Sleeve, Virginia, dudes looking at you like, you from where? Like, what is that? We never heard of that. Like, it's more so that's just the mentality it was. You know what I'm saying? And it's different when you walk in there, you be like, I'm from Portsmouth. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Richmond or DC. That's kind of different because they bigger places. They got numbers in there, and not only the numbers, a lot of them dudes they hold their own. You know what I'm saying? Like lines get crossed, you best believe you don't got to worry about a game. You got to worry about that city, that wherever they repping, that kind of thing. Not really more so. It wasn't you violate or dudes get into it and like it's a bunch of gang. No, like that was kind of rare, and we got into it before I even got official with blood. We got into it with and like I said, this is another thing how well, it's just we got into it. Portsmouth got into it with the GDs, and then they had Crips tagging along. You know what I'm saying? Then back then you had Crips with 6 point stars and repping the six on them. You see what I'm saying? Where it get kind of crazy. And then it was like the number of white dudes was the same as the number of black dudes repping. Like it was like, and they was like moving as one out there. So it was more so you had to watch where dudes was from. Like I said, them smaller towns, you got thorough dudes from everywhere. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the system. Like they don't have no numbers. You come through there. Oh, I'm from Yuppity Yup County. You were like, where from where? No. Like, and they whole lingo different, everything different, not taking nothing from 'em. And when the gang started to come about, that really gave dudes from the smaller places identity for real. Like that's just what it is. Gay dudes a bigger clique to network with, the link with. Before honestly, you run into some dudes and they from a small town they know nobody heard of, didn't even know it was a jail out there type thing. They throw their gang out there first. You know what I'm saying? After they handle, of course. I'm red, New York apple seed with the hole in the middle. I'm blood. Or yeah, that where are you from? So that's how that kind of came about. And if you can look at it like smaller towns, they be having a lot to prove. You know what I'm saying? That's why when them gangs hit there, it's like, like I say, it's a larger network now. Now they are part of something bigger. Now they do have the numbers. You know what I'm saying? So they start escalating in the violence and all that, trying to get their town known, but also they gang known. So it's kind of like this identity thing. Um, like I said, we weren't official, whole lot of us. People not want to admit that or whatever. I will. We weren't official. We was running around throwing up. Man, we didn't know what we talking about. Like, that's just what it was. We knew a little bit, but what I can say is, before we really got in contact and dudes really got official and really got that stamp, honestly, man, it seemed that we was more structured back then. it wasn't so much of a power struggle back then. Until we did get everything lined up and official with the big homies in New York and stuff. We was more militant. Like, I don't know what happened. I guess like, dudes contacting these dudes we've been hearing about, we read about, whatever, that's doing real time putting on for this back then. Like it excited us. Like I don't know, but like we took it and we ran with it. We ran hard with it. And in the midst of putting on and trying to get our reputation down here in the South on for this gang life, we finally official, in the midst of that, a lot of us got lost, even on, our goals and what we came together for and what we got that flag for. Like, once that communication with them higher up started, that's when really all the backbiting that was like turning into like you really trying to mark dudes out for their position. You know what I'm saying? So it just got outrageous. Like it was like less politics when we weren't in tune with New York and the big homies in other states. So like I say, the numbers had risen and the chaos is out of control. You know what I'm saying? But we loved it back then at the time. We won't on no mission to march peacefully and like I had a life sentence. I looked at it like this is where I gotta be for the rest of my life. I'm gonna make the best of it. I'm gonna bang this gang. I'm gonna rise to the top, keep these cell phones coming, keep this contraband coming in here. It's about that money. And like I had a goal, like I kept on the low, like I was trying to build up my army, have so many people under me. Like I was kind of going through like I'm tired of fighting like my case. Like this is what it's gonna be. So when I feel the time right, man, I'm gonna have this system in so much of an uproar. They gonna have to send me out of state, so I can take my show on the road. You know what I'm saying? And like that's how deep into it I was. Like I was dreaming about going home, but I really wasn't making no conscious efforts back then. And as the game culture evolved and I became deeper into it, like that's all that mattered to me. You know what I'm saying? And back in these times before the numbers kind of shifted, it was like a lot of dudes weren't trying to be blood. Like that's just what it was. And a lot of people ain't gonna admit this for real, but man, of course, peer pressure, older influences, like people missing something like in their world. They might want that sense of family, that sense of belonging. Some people that didn't have structure, the rules and regulations gonna give you structure because you're gonna have to get in line. You know what I'm saying? So it's just be in line with the structure so you don't even have to reap no bad consequences for breaking laws and stuff. So we was just on a whole nother mission before we got in contact with the higher ups. Get in contact with the higher ups, more chaos politics, more envy, more hate, more brother on brother. Like it was rare you had wars in there back then. You know what I'm saying? It was always like gang on gang violence internally. You know what I'm saying? And more so if it was a situation that always would arise with civilians, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna get into the next chapter on this and keep y'all informed on everything going on that gang culture.